2018, class number 11. Alrighty, folks, so last announcement. Next Monday night there will be no class as the Druckers are going on a honeymoon, so we'll cancel class. We don't want them to miss any Torah. Now, for the people that aren't going on their honeymoon, everyone else can come to the data dinner, which is going to be next Monday night at 6:15 at the Plano Civic Center, off on Spring Creek. So it's just east of 75. It's like a couple hundred yards east of 75, and so that's going to the Plano Civic Center, the data dinner, celebrating 25 years of Torah, right? Of Torah in town, and really everyone. It's a tremendous time to come celebrate and to join us and to show our appreciation to data and kind of just being there and being part of the celebration, because it's really celebrating everyone who learns, everyone who studies with us. So you're part of the celebration. You're part of the joy that we are celebrating. So it's 25 years of Torah. Actually, I'm trying to have it that we're going to have tags when you come to the dinner, that everyone's going to put a tag on what year they started getting involved in data. So okay, so that's anyway. Next Monday night, we'd love to see you all there. It's going to be a fantastic evening. Okay, so last week we ended off at the beginning of chapter 2, Genesis beginning chapter 2, talking about Shabbat. Right, talking about how Shabbat is the source of all the blessings. Right, the person he comes to the rabbi and says, "I need help in my business." I said, "Good." I said, "What you just need to do is you need to keep Shabbat." I said, "Right, you celebrate Shabbat. Shabbat is the source of all blessings. You don't need my blessings; you get God's blessings." Right, Shabbat. Right, and the whole world was created for the sake of Shabbat. Right, Shabbat is the source. Right, we said as you create. Right, it's kind of it's you get the whole. It's like you set a table. You get the table all set, and then you go ahead, and then you come in. So too, God created the entire world, and then He created man. So everything, as you see further along in the creation, starting from day one, it got more sophisticated as it went along, till it culminated in the creation of man and really woman. Right, woman was the last thing created. That's why she's considered more perfect than man. Right, and therefore she has less commandments. Therefore she has all the 613 commandments. She's exempt from the time-bound commandments. Right, and so therefore she goes ahead and but everything further along, and then Shabbat is the source of all the blessings, and that's what we talked about. How you have the whole week, right? You have a whole week of the whole week to prepare for Shabbat. Right, you go ahead, right, and you find a good steak. You say, "Oh, I'm going to save this one for Shabbat." Right, comes Monday, you find a better steak. You eat the steak from Sunday. You found it on Sunday, and you save the better steak for Monday. Right, and every day you're going ahead and you're kind of looking, what could you do for Shabbat? Right, and we said, and that's really, and the week culminates in Shabbat. Right, then we said, Shabbat is a time of when you get a chance to sort of remove yourself. Right, it's sort of detach oneself from the mundane, and you're able to focus on the spiritual. Right, you're able to focus on your relationship with God. And then going ahead and having that relationship with God, and like that's really what it's all about, right? Getting to a place of having that relationship and focusing on the relationship with God, and that's what Shabbos is about, right? And that's why when you first say, the first thing you say Shabbat, what's the first thing you think of?
Rest.
Right, I can't do this, right? I can't drive my car, I can't turn the lights on, I can't do this, right? And it's a big mistake, because Shabbat, it's not what you can't do. It's what you can do, right? It's going ahead, right? So then at that point in time, you're going ahead and you're saying, oh my gosh, right? It's detach yourself, forget about everything that is. Now go ahead and focus on what life's all about, and that's our relationship with God. Right? And God says it's amazing. Go ahead and get your family, right? Go get your good friends, and go get a nice bottle of wine, right? And then go ahead and sit down and enjoy, right? And just go ahead and create. Right, and focus and enjoy, right? It's this day of spiritual elevation, not a day of guilt. Yeah.
What happens if we don't keep Shabbat?
So that's not good. So then what happens is you're missing out the opportunity, right, to create that relationship with God, right? And so it's a day of, you can get so much more done on Shabbat than the rest of the week, right? Because it's a day of such tremendous spiritual potential, right? So then at that point in time, you don't want to lose, right, that spiritual connection that you're able to go ahead and you're able to tap into.
No, my question is that are you doing a sin? Is something bad going to happen to your life?
Yes, so it says, so what happens is, right, so that's very more complicated because it depends why you aren't doing it, right? Most people nowadays, it's not that they know about Shabbat and saying, I don't want it. The problem is they were never raised to know about it. And it's something that they don't know at all about, right? And so therefore, right, it's always about the idea of baby steps, right? Of taking, right, of doing things step by step to go back to create that relationship that we have with God, right? That's really what it's about, right? It's a time to go ahead and to create that relationship. See, because even the word punishment, like God's going to punish you, is really usually a very misnomer. Okay, it's a silly thing that you're saying, right? Because does God wait up there and says, okay, let me wait till that guy does something wrong, I'll beat him on the head, right? You know, I had a friend who actually told me his life changed. He grew up thinking that that God's sitting up there waiting with the lightning bolt, and as soon as he's going to do something wrong, he's going to toss it at him. He's going to smack him on the head. And then he finally realized one day that God, he said, do I think that God is up there waiting to smack me on the head with the baseball bat? He said, maybe God is up there cheering for me when I do something right. Right? And maybe, right, God is going ahead and God is saying, yeah, like go. You know, like you could do it, you could do it, right? You could do good. Right? And so what happens is at that point in time, right, that's our relationship with God. Right? God is sitting up there, he's not looking to smack us on the head. God's looking to go ahead and to encourage us to do the right thing. And I'll give you an example. The best, actually, Rabbi Moses, who's going to be here for the weekend, right? This Shabbat we're having a big bang, right? We're having 8 of the past data rabbis that actually moved out of town are coming back for Shabbat, and then as well as the other data rabbis that are in town. It's going to be a very, very special weekend. And what happens is that he said, I remember it was such a good example. I use it all the time. He says, when you teach a baby how to walk, right? He says, so what do? He says, you let the baby start walking, you hold the baby's hands, the baby takes that first step, right? And takes a second step, and then you kind of like loosen your fingers and you kind of let go. And all of a sudden the baby's standing there, they bring the hands over the head, and they take another step. And what happens when they take that second step, that step after you let go?
You encourage it.
Plop, right? They fall down on their bottom, right? And they're about ready to cry, right? It hurts, right? They fell down. Especially now the kind of the new diapers that are thinner. The thicker diapers are always good to get extra padding when they learn how to walk. So anyway, so they fall down. But then all of a sudden everyone's going, yay, whoopee-doo, woo! And everyone's cheering. They look up, they think it must have been something good, they pick themselves up and they do it again. Right? Why? Because we're sitting up there cheering for them and they say, oh my gosh, this is such a great thing. He says, that's how God is. God is sitting up there. Don't think he's waiting there to beat us up over the head. God is sitting up there waiting to cheer us on when we do something good. Right? They're cheering us on as we take those baby steps, as we grow. And life is all about those baby steps. Right? It's taking those steps, a step at a time. It's baby steps. Don't take a jump. Take baby steps. Right? Take a step at a time. Right? That's how do you walk up a flight of stairs? At a step at a time. You walk up a ramp. Right? Just go a step at a time. Don't push yourselves, right? Too much, right? Again, it's like a rubber band. If there's no tension, what happens to the rubber band? Falls off. Too much tension, it snaps, right? So it's got to be just the right tension, and that's what happens. Is that right? And that's our relationship with God. We have to recognize that our job is to grow as we do, and to go ahead and as we do things, and as we grow, right? We go ahead and we're ready. It's meant to be comfortably uncomfortable. Okay, right? One of the worst words in Judaism is comfortable. Right? You're not supposed to be comfortable. Because what happens when you're comfortable? You usually don't tend to grow. You become complacent, and you got to be enough uncomfortable, right? That you're growing. But I call that baby steps, and that's really what it's all about. Yeah.
Yeah, is there a tshuva that you're supposed to do on the Sabbath if you accidentally do something you're not supposed to?
Sure, but the tshuva is all the same, right? Returning to God there's a standard way to do that. Okay.
I kept biting my lip last weekend, and what's the effect of cutting? 'Cause you
Well, yeah. So it's if you're biting yourself, that's not a good thing to do. Please don't do that anymore.
I was nervous.
Right. And then I'm nervous when I'm cutting myself. Yeah. Just don't do it again. It's like whatever. It's just. And you just say again. It's any time we do something that's improper, or it's God to forgive us. But you shouldn't bite yourself anytime, not even during the week.
But is it okay to do tshuva right then?
No, for sure. Yeah. Don't wait. Some people say, Rabbi, I'm going to wait till Yom Kippur. I'm going to kind of like save up all my sins. I'll wait till Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur, I'll come the one-stop shop.
It's only one day.
It's only one day, right? I'll come and I'll wipe the slate clean and wait. I say, you don't want to carry that stuff around with you the whole time. I said, you want to just take it, maybe baby step, right? Baby step at a time. And so that's really what it's all about. And then that's Shabbat. Shabbat is really this time of pristine desire or getting into a pristine relationship with God and focusing on it, right? We get so busy that we're busy doing all the other stuff, right, that goes on in our lives, and we go ahead and all the other things, right? And our job is not to do those things, not those things get in the way, right? Our job is to go ahead and to get beyond those things, right? And that's really. That's what it's about. Yeah.
Listen, keep Shabbat. Does that mean that I'm a true Jew now?
Okay, is a true Jew.
Am I going to be in the heaven for 200%?
The answer is no. There's not one-stop shop. There's 613 commandments, right? And today you can do 277. Most of us can only do around 260 of those, right? Because you have to be married, single, divorced, married, all at the same time. Have children, don't have children. Have parents, don't have parents, all at the same time. So roughly it's 260. So there are some that are bigger rocks than others, right? There are those that are, and so Shabbat is a bigger rock, right? And even though we don't really, right, but it's very important. But at that point, I mean, it's part of the package, right? It's how we live. If you're a jerk and you keep Shabbat, guess what? I have bad news for you, right? You know what I'm saying, right? And you ain't going to heaven so fast, right? And if you're lovely, you know what I'm saying? Like there's not a magic bullet. Right? Shabbat happens to be an incredible gift that we have from God. Right? And it certainly is something that God puts a lot of weight on. Right? It's actually in one of the 10 Commandments. Now, a lot of people come to me and say, Rabbi, says, I do the 10 Commandments. That's what I do. So it's always great. So I say, well, Shabbat is on the 10 Commandments. So I said, okay, Rabbi, 9. Okay, we do 9. We're okay. No. First I say 10. I said, why those 10? Well, that's 10 Commandments. Everybody knows. Right? It's all about the 10 Commandments. So I said, well, you do know that Shabbat is part of the 10. Well, 9. Right. So, right, and that's what Shabbat is. Something that is so exquisite and so beautiful. Right. It's something that I feel bad for people that don't know what Shabbat is about. And yet Shabbat is something that is so beautiful, right? In its entirety, right? It's something that really is something special, and it's really the time to focus on. And we see when God created the world, the final finishing touch, the cherry on the top of the ice cream. I love those maraschino cherries, by the way. The cherry on top of the ice cream, on top of the sundae. It's that cherry right on top, and that cherry is Shabbat. Right? That's when God ceased to create, and that's when He finished it and said that this is what this world is all about. And He says, don't forget Shabbat. It's all about Shabbat. And it's all about creating Shabbat. Right? That's our job. That's what we get to do. Right? And so and that's how the creation of the world finishes. Right? This is sort of the crescendo of the creation story is Shabbat. Right? And it truly is. It's something. It's done properly. It's the most amazing thing. Right? It's a day of wholeness. It's a day of oneness. A day of godliness. Right? It truly is a time of when the whole week. And then if you learn to sort of to subject the entire week to Shabbat, right? You go ahead and you understand that Shabbat is king. Right, queen, right? It's that Shabbos queen, right? Is right, and that you understand that the rest of the week really just revolves around the Shabbat. Right? Today's Tuesday, right? Today it's Monday night, right? Monday night is Tuesday already, right? The Jewish day started Tuesday, so Tuesday is sort of the last afterglow of this past Shabbos, right? Because we say, remember, the 3 days before Shabbat is the build-up. Then you have Shabbat, and then you have now the 3 days after, right? And so we go ahead and write, and so now we have, right, the end of Shabbat, right? And now, so then tomorrow night we start again the build-up to go ahead to get to the place of going back up to Shabbat, right? Getting now, right now climbing the mountain towards the next Shabbat, right? And then we said also Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, you already start towards the next week as well. But that's, so like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday have both. From the last week and starting towards the new week, but that's really what we get a chance to do, right? We get a chance to, right, to that our week revolves around Shabbat, right? It becomes and it keeps us focused, and right, and remember that this world, there's more to this world than, I said the cowboy games, but they're also pretty, honestly, it's not so comforting anymore. but right, there's more to the world than than football, right? There's more to the world than just going ahead and just whatever, right? The world, it's really, right, the idea of what we call spirituality, right? A relationship with God, right? Is we get to really to the sublime. We get to a place of this incredible relationship with God, right? It's really just an incredible gift. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's something that really is something very special, and that's how the creation story ends. But it ends that God finishes. And that's what we do, right? Shabbat is over. So chapter 2, verse number 4. Okay, so page 11. Right, so now again the Torah now switches back and now starts going ahead and now starts going through the creation, the Garden of Eden, etc., etc. We will double back a little bit in some of the stuff in the creation, right? The Torah will go ahead and we'll repeat it again, right? But meanwhile, right, let's go take a look. Chapter 2, verse number 4. Okay, Mark, you want to read?
These are the products of heaven and the earth when they were created in the day that Hashem God made heaven and earth.
Okay, so tell me, what is this? What does verse number 4 say?
They were created at the same time.
I'm created on the same time. Okay.
Heaven and earth was created.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, basically it says that all the ingredients are there, and now it's time to develop them.
Now it's time to develop them. Okay. Or time to put them to use. But I want to point out something to you, something in this verse. Let me read the verse again carefully. These are the products of the heaven and the earth when they were created on the day that Hashem God made earth and heaven. Anyone have a problem?
Yeah, they were created then, not on subsequent days.
Oh,
So the answer, how long did it take God to create the earth, the world, is one.
is one, right? It says on the day that God created. May I ask a question? I thought we just finished the story. There were 7 days of creation, or 6 days of creation. What does it mean on the day, right, that God created the heavens and the earth?
Well, it says later on they did not sprout yet, so they were already there.
So the answer is on the day, right? Here the Torah is telling us that everything was created on day number 1. Okay, and then God took the rest of the 6 days of creation and formed everything that He created and put it into its place during the rest of the 6 days of creation. Okay, going ahead and taking the rest of the 6 days of creation, right, and going ahead and creating, right, all the not really creating, because remember the definition of creating. When we say creating in Judaism, what do we say creating? What does that mean?
Making out of nothing.
Creating, it means creating, right, something out of nothing, right? And was this created something out of nothing, right? This wasn't, right? The creating something out of nothing was only on day number 1, right? Because there was nothing, there was no space, there was no time, there was nothing in the world. And what did God go ahead and do? He created matter, and the rest of the 6 days He shaped that matter into different pieces, right? But really was all on day 1. Now, also, if it's interesting, if you take a look at the Hebrew for a second, you don't have to know how to read Hebrew, but just take a look at Hebrew. It's the beginning. It's the top line of the second paragraph in the Hebrew, right? So, what is it? What's interesting about that first line?
There's an asterisk.
There's an asterisk. There's an asterisk on top of the letter Hey. Okay, and why? Because the Hey, the letter Hey, is written small. Okay. There are certain letters in the Torah some are written smaller than the rest, and some are written larger than the rest. Right? Again, just like, for example, we had at the end of day number 6, right? Right? That we go, right? Some letters are written smaller, some letters are written larger. Like the bays at the beginning of the creation, right at the beginning of the Torah, Bereishis, in the beginning, that bays is written larger. Right? So now we have over here, Bihibaram, right? The letter Hey is written smaller. So why is that Hey? Why is the letter Hey written smaller?
Because Avram and Abraham
Right, it's very interesting.
are the name change, and the Abraham could be rearranged to read Abraham.
Very interesting, right? Right, is that right? If you take a look first of all, the word is Bihibaram when it was created. What was the purpose of creation?
So that Abraham could.
The purpose of creation is the Jewish people. Right? The Jewish people are the purpose of creation. Right? And so therefore it says Bihibaram when he created them, right? The word Bihibaram, if you switch the letters around, is Avram and Avraham. Right? Where Abraham goes and it gets the name changed from Avram to Avraham. Right? So he goes ahead and he gets right because of Avram he created the world. Let me tell you another reason. Bihibaram, when he created them, you could also read it as Behei. With the letter Hey, Baram, he created them. One of God's names is Yah, or right, we'll called Ka, right? A Yud and a Hey, right? Okay, right. Remember, the tetragram name is a Yud and a Hey and a Vav and a Hey, right? That's the name that we read today as Adonai. Okay, Yud and a Hey and a Vav and a Hey. So the Yud and the Hey, that's two of the letters. That's also one of God's names. And the verse says, right, B'yah Hashem, right, Sur Olamim, God created the world. That God created the world with a Yud and a Hey. The Yud, He created the world to come. And with the Hey, He created this world. Okay, so Bihibaram, when a day was created, but also we read a day Behei Baram, that God created the world with the letter Hey from His name. Right? Why did He create it with the letter Hey?
Did we just say because it was a symbol of the Jewish people?
Okay, good. Right, so one is right to mind, this is Abraham, right, of Abraham. Another reason is the Hey is open on the bottom, because most people in the world, right, don't necessarily do good, and they fall to the bottom, they go down to hell. Right? But then if you take a look, the Hey is shaped like this. Okay? Right? This is a letter, right, and a little pixel over here. Okay? Right? Right, called it's the letter Hey is written as far. Right, it's written like this. Right, that's how the letter Hey is written, right? You see, right, like this. So it's open on the bottom, right? It's open on the bottom over here. As most people in this world fall out the bottom, there's a little side over here. Why is a little side over here? Because people who do tshuva could climb back in. Why is the Yud, right? Why is the Yud, which is the smallest letter? Why does God create the world to come with a Yud? Because few people make it to the world to come. So it's right. So it's a right. It's symbolic of being small, getting there. Yeah.
This letter Hey has been mentioned in the Torah many times.
Yes.
It's actually a very important letter.
Correct.
It kind of gives the Torah a meaning. Without the Hey, I don't think there would be a meaning to the Torah.
Well, I mean, but you can set up a lot of letters, right?
Perspective of the way you look at the Torah, it gives it some kind of a meaning. If there's no Hey, it's just there's no feelings in the Torah. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, but I mean, okay.
So why is this Hey so important? I mean, there's so many letters, but why Hey?
And why is the Hey so important? It's a good question. You know, every letter in the Torah has many meanings to it. Right? There's a very good book called the Secrets of the Hebrew Alphabet. Right? Right? And if you go take a look, like every letter has eight levels of meaning. And the way that they're constructed and what they teach us, remember the eight levels of meaning in every letter. And then if you understood what every letter, what it means, then you can understand what every Hebrew word means, just by the letters that are used to construct that word. It's a fascinating. Like you want to blow your mind, go learn something about the Hebrew alphabet. It's an amazing thing, right? Because the Hebrew alphabet, right, was created. Remember, the first language in the world. What was the first language in the world? Nope. What was the first language in the world? What? Is that a question or a statement? Hebrew, right? The first language in the world is Lashon HaKodesh, right? The language that the Torah is written in.
So why is Zohar is written in Arabic?
It's a good question. The Torah, right? The world, right? The entire world spoke Hebrew. That was the only language that the world spoke.
Until the Tower of Babel.
Very to the Tower of Babel, exactly.
470.
The Tower of Babel, then that started, what year was the Tower of Babel? 1996. 1,996 years from after the creation of man, that's when the Tower of Babel came along, and that's when God split up the 70 languages. And all 70 languages come from the Hebrew language. I'll give you an example. You want to hear something really cool? Okay, listen to this. How do you say fruit in Hebrew? Anyone know how you say fruit in Hebrew? Right. Peiros. Peiros is fruit. Okay. How do you spell peiros? So this is how you spell peiros in Hebrew.
Pharaoh.
Okay. You see peiros? This is how you spell peiros in Hebrew. Okay. Does anyone phonetically spell these letters? What letter does this letter? What sound does that make?
F.
Root. Fruit.
Fruit.
Oh, fruit.
That's interesting. That's good.
Fruit.
Right? You see, you phonetically ready to take out the vowels, right? It's spelled as fruit. Right? And there are many, even English words that are written that way. Right? So the Hebrew language, the whole world is created from the Hebrew language. The Hebrew language is the source of all the world. All languages come from Hebrew. Okay? You go back like English. Where does English come from? Latin, right? A lot of Latin, right?
Yes.
Right? A lot of Latin influence. Right? But it goes back and Latin, it all goes back to Hebrew. Right? Hebrew is the world is the language in which the world was created. That's the language that the world spoke, all the way until the Tower of Babel. Everybody spoke Hebrew. The language of the world. Right? And that was how, right? The Hebrew alphabet, God created the Hebrew alphabet so he could write the Torah and thereby then create the world. And so the Hebrew alphabet is very important. Right? So to understand the Hebrew alphabet. Right? So it's a very important piece to the puzzle. But that's why, so all the letters it's amazing. Yeah.
Then why are some of our stuff, would some of our stuff be written in Aramaic?
Oh, so right, so very good. So that's Michael's question. So the answer is it was written in Aramaic because a lot of that was the language that was commonly spoken later on. Okay, that was the language. And why did people speak Aramaic? Because the Hebrew language was so holy, they didn't want to degrade it by speaking it in public. So they would go ahead and they would speak Aramaic, right? Because they had to communicate, right? And then on Shabbat they would speak in Hebrew. When they would learn Torah, they would speak in Hebrew.
Oh, when Jason was in yeshiva, some of the stuff he had to learn in Aramaic.
Yeah, no, sure. The Talmud is written all in Hebrew.
In Aramaic.
In Aramaic, excuse me, in Aramaic. The Mishnah is written in Hebrew. The Talmud is written in Aramaic. Right? The Zohar is written in Aramaic, right? And it's interesting. You take a look, like Maimonides, right? So what language did Maimonides write his works?
Aramaic.
Some in Hebrew, right? The Mishnah Torah is written
Some
in Hebrew,
and some Aramaic.
and some in Ladino, right? Why did he write in Ladino?
He was in
Because that was the language that people spoke. He wanted to make sure they understood it. right? And so that's why they would use Aramaic, right? That's why because that was the language of the street. I remember when we first came talking about that, celebrating 25 years of a celebration. When we first came here, 25 years ago, we came to town and we were studying in. We actually had rented a room from Shari Tefillah. Okay, and that's where we were located, and what happened was this old man, and again I'm going to say old man. I'm looking back now at all these pictures. Like we're finding pictures of over 25 years, and it's funny who's old and who wasn't old. And I remember these people as being older, but that's just because I was so young, so they looked older. And so this older man came in, a guy named Mar Tito. Mar means like master, like sir. Tito. His daughter lived here. I'm trying to remember. I don't remember the name, but Mar Tito was a Iraqi Jew. He had never studied Talmud before, so he came in. We were studying Talmud. So he says, "Could I study with you all?" So we said, "Sure." He picks up the Talmud and he starts reading it like a newspaper. It was like funny. He started reading it was like a newspaper to him because he spoke Aramaic, right? That was language. So it was just like reading. It was like reading a newspaper. It's just very funny. It's just but that's what it is. But that's how the world was created. Right, the world was created all in Hebrew, right? And so some stuff was in Aramaic because that just meant that was easier for people to understand.
Aramaic and Farsi are similar.
I don't.
Just from Iraq.
Right. So I think they're both considered Semitic languages, but I'm not sure. Okay, I don't know that much.
Just one more question.
Yeah.
That's why when we pass on and we go to the court of the courts,
Yeah.
we speak Hebrew to answer to God, or we speak.
No. So it's very interesting. I'll tell you something fascinating. A Jewish court, right? The Sanhedrin Gedolah, right? The High Court. Everyone there had to speak all 70 languages of the world. They had to speak all 70.
When I question, I answer in Hebrew back?
You'll speak in your mother tongue.
God understands it all.
No, right. But you have all the angels, but they'll all. And you know why they have to? Why did they just have interpreters? Why does the High Court? Everyone has the High Court of the Jewish High Court. Why does everybody have to memorize? Have to know all 70 languages?
Because through an interpreter you lose something.
Very good, because when it goes through the interpreter, excellent, you lose the nuances.
Yeah.
And you're judging people in life and death situations, you can't lose those nuances. Right? It's fun, like sometimes people will translate, some of the Israelis come and they'll speak to me and they'll say a phrase and it doesn't make any sense, and then I realize they've just translated the vernacular phrase, they've translated it into English, but they're missing the whole point. It's like it doesn't translate well. It's not what it means. And to just go ahead and you have to do that. So you have to make sure that. And so when you're sitting on the court and you're judging the person whether they're going to live and they're going to die, you can't afford, right? You can't afford to not know the nuances, and therefore you have to go ahead and therefore the rabbis on the High Court had to know how to speak all 70 languages. And we'll find as we go through the Chumash, we'll see where it plays out, right? Right, and where it happens. Yeah.
When the 70 languages were divided, some of them got to keep Hebrew.
One of them got to keep Hebrew.
Just one.
Just one
person?
because it was 70 languages.
But I mean, who?
One family. Abraham.
So that was it. He was the only. His family.
The Jewish people got to keep Hebrew.
Oh, wow.
Right, we got to keep Hebrew. Right, and that's what we have.
So why is Ketubah written in Hebrew?
Ketubah is not. Ketubah is written in Aramaic. Right? Why? Because you want to make sure darn well you know what you're reading. Which is kind of ironic because today, someone what do the Ketubah say? And they break their teeth reading it. And so if it's written in Hebrew, they might stand a better chance at understanding what it says. But it's written in Aramaic, so people should understand what they're reading. Right? It's a document. It's a deal. Right? We're switching. Right? We're sending things back and forth. Right? Right?
But the deal is different than a vow.
Yeah. It's not. It's a business deal.
This is a contract.
It's a contract, right? It's a contract, right? It's a contract, right? Ksuba gives certain rights and certain rights and certain responsibilities between the bride and the groom.
If I go to a court with a woman and just get married, is that legal?
According to Jewish law, it means not. So you get married not Jewishly.
So I'm basically
right. The U.S. government might recognize it, but I don't wasting time. So still might get a tax break. You get a tax break for that, right? If you get married, right, in a secular court, right, you go to justice of the peace, you get married, right? So you might get a good tax break, but it has nothing to do with with getting married. Yeah. Any question?
Well, I have a question about the end of the sentence.
Okay. Okay. Go
The
ahead.
end of the sentence says, where is it?
On the day God made heaven and
That's
earth.
Vayomer Esod Adonai Elohim. And
Oh.
I think isn't that the first time?
Oh, very good.
It shows up?
Okay, very good. Good question. Okay, take a look in verse number 4. Let's read verse number 4 again. Okay, go ahead, Mark. You did such a good job. Read verse number 4 again. Very important. Listen carefully. Go ahead.
These are the products of the heaven and the earth when they were created in the day that Hashem God made heaven and earth.
Ah, so how are we referring to God over here?
Both
Hashem, God, right? There are two names for God over here, right? This is the first place in the Chumash that God's name, that we get the second name of God. What's the first name of God that we get in the Chumash? Elohim, right? We have Elohim, right? That's right, the God, right? God of justice. All of a sudden now, right? You read the Chumash, right? Chapter 2, verse number 4, Genesis, first time that God is mentioned as Adonai Elohim, right? God, right? The first time, and what does the name Adonai mean?
Mercy.
What?
Merciful God.
But merciful, right? It's God of mercy.
So we have justice, now we have mercy.
Now justice, and now we have God of mercy. Why do we change from God of justice to God of mercy?
Because we don't die if it were just justice. None of us are.
So why did God start off creating the world with God of mercy?
You know, we talked about this.
Because without the severity of justice, you wouldn't have the appreciation for the mercy.
Nope.
It didn't have, because man was evil inclination and mercy was.
Does that mean that no matter what happens, justice will be served, and no matter what happens?
But it is.
You know, me and you have different gods.
But it adds balance.
God is like
God
Santa
forbid
Claus.
if you murder somebody 100 years later, you still get your justice.
And then, okay, so listen up.
It adds balance. I mean, you have justice tempered by mercy.
Uh-huh. Okay, let me ask you a question. What happens when there's a clash between God of justice and God of mercy?
Mercy wins.
Who wins out?
Mercy.
You hope mercy. I said, who wins out?
Just
Mercy.
Doesn't it change? Sometimes one, sometimes the other.
So the two gods fight, and whoever wins, like that's the one that comes out on top.
It doesn't make sense.
Right. Now the Greeks, by the way, Greek mythology comes from that.
Yeah.
Right? Greek mythology comes from that. They looked around at the world. They saw sometimes bad things happen to good people, sometimes good things happen to bad people, and they said, "Well, hold on, what's going on over here? Right? Is it good? Is God as good as God is bad?" So they came up in their right. They came up and they said, "Okay, there must be these two gods fighting." Right? Something the God of mercy, something the God of justice, and they fight. And sometimes the God of justice wins, something the God of mercy. And then once you have two gods, then you got to have pantheons of gods. And they began creating all sorts of different gods for all sorts of different things. This question, right? This is the most vital question, right? To understand the world, is God mercy or God is justice, and what happens when they clash?
Mercy wins.
So if you think mercy wins, so then why does the whole first chapter of the Torah deal only with God of justice?
Well, man hasn't been created yet.
Okay, but if you tell me that the whole world is created out of mercy, so then I would say Bereishis bara Adonai, you should say, right? In the beginning of God, right, of Hashem's creating the world, right? If that's the whole world was created out of mercy, which I agree with you, by the way. So I'm just playing devil's advocate and trying to draw it out of you. Okay, right? So, right, it's all God is all about mercy. So then, why does the Torah begin the creation of the world with God of justice?
Because you have to start with a heavy hand first.
Because that's a way to make you really love somebody.
No, because man wasn't perfect. So there was a need to
So let me explain, y'all. Listen up. You heard this here first.
Okay.
Actually, if you go back to class number 1 or 2, you might hear it also. But
I wasn't here.
man, I know you weren't here, so you get a pass. But it's good. But listen up. This is something worth repeating because the idea is so beautiful. It's like worth being created just to hear this. When you get upstairs to heaven, you just tell them, share with them, and say, God, this was like worth my entire existence just to hear this idea. Right? Again, that's right. That's what it's all about. And you don't want to just understand, right? The entire existence was worth it just for this. It goes like this. Did God have to create a world?
No.
No. So why did he create a world?
To serve him.
To serve him, because he needs us to serve him.
No.
Is that what you're saying?
No. He doesn't
No,
need to think.
he doesn't need to think. So that's the wrong answer. Bzz, right? I'm sorry. Right? And it's the Gong Show. I don't know if it's the Gong Show anymore. It's Americans Got Talent. I don't know. You X amount. I don't know what it is.
But we have to praise God. If there's no human, there's no animals, there's nothing. Nobody's to praise God.
And so God's going to be bored.
God doesn't need praise.
And let me ask you another question, just parenthetically. Do you really understand how awesome God is?
No.
No. You can understand like a little teeny little bit. And so you're telling God how wonderful he is, and he's sitting and listening to you and saying, you're such an idiot. Like you're telling me
But
I'm
he
great when you have no
listens-
clue?
But doesn't he listen to me?
Why? Of course he listens to you. Why?
Because we need him to.
Because we need prayers for us. Right? You understand? Prayers for me that I can talk to God. The creator of the universe says, Epstein, I want to hear what you have to say. I wake up in the morning and I go, I can't wait to talk to God and tell me the creator of the universe. But for me, it's not for God. So God created the entire universe just to give to us. Purely, it's a chesed project. It's a kindness project. He doesn't need to. He wanted to. He wants to do kindness. So he created us in order to give us. Remember, the entire world is here just so that God could do good things for us.
So where's the justice come from?
Which means, by the way, if things aren't going great, what does that mean? That means we're messing things up, so God can't do this because then it wouldn't be good for us. Right? But God only wants to give us good things. That's all he wants to do. All he wants to do is to give us goodness. That's all he wants us to do. That's it. He wants to give to us. What's the problem?
We don't deserve it.
No, he's giving us his kindness. He'll give it to us anyway, because he loves us. He wants to just give to us. The problem is, if he just gives to us, what does that turn us into? Takers. And what happens when we become a taker and God is a giver?
We don't have a relationship.
No, we do have a relationship, but it's a relationship of taking. And after a while, if we become takers, remember, our job is to become godly. And what is God, a giver or a taker? A giver. So that turns me into a taker. It doesn't work. It doesn't work for me to be a taker. Right? It doesn't work for me to be a taker. I need to be a giver. So how does God then make it that he can give to us, so he can do his kindness, but it doesn't make it bad for us?
Mercy.
So how does he marriage those two things together?
Oh, justice and mercy.
Oh, so he says, I'm going to make you earn what I give you. You have to earn it. If you earn it, you get it. If you don't earn it, you don't get it. And what's that called? Justice. So he created the world with justice so that we can earn what we get and we can be givers rather than takers. How do we earn it? By doing mitzvahs. Right? So then we're giving to God, and then he can say, okay, now I can give it back to you. So the reason why the world starts off with God of justice and not God of mercy is because the greatest mercy is that there should be justice. So if so, what happens if there's a clash between justice and mercy? Who wins?
Mercy.
Why does mercy win?
Because if it were justice, we'd all be dead.
No. Why? That's true. But why does mercy win? Because justice was only created because of mercy. Mercy created justice. Right? Mercy created the world. I'm going to create you to give you. So the whole world was created for mercy. And mercy says the greatest mercy I can give you is that you earn what you get, which is justice. So justice is subservient to mercy. So what happens then? If there's a clash between the two, who wins?
The one who's not subservient.
The justice, right? The mercy was what was created everything. So the mercy, so the justice, as soon as it conflicts with the mercy, it goes away. So that's why it begins with Elohim of justice. But now, so why now does it switch and add in Hashem Elohim or Adonai Elohim? Why does it put now God of mercy with God of justice?
To show he has both characteristics.
Good. Well, okay. And which one is first, by the way?
How do you mean first?
In the Torah, which one's written first?
Justice.
Mercy, Adonai Elohim. Elohim is justice.
The first in the Torah is justice.
No. But when the two names come right together.
Oh.
Like here,
Okay.
chapter 2, verse 4 is the first place in the Torah the two names come together. Which one comes first?
Mercy.
Mercy. So that's how you know that mercy trumps justice.
But can't you say justice trumps mercy because it was first in the Torah?
No. Because the only reason it was first in the Torah was because in the perfect world, the world would operate under justice, because that way then we would not be takers, we'd be givers. What's the problem with the world operating that way?
No free will.
We mess up, and we'd all be dead, right? Because we mess up so quickly. That's it, bang, we're gone. So what happens? So God goes right. So God gives mercy, makes justice subservient to mercy, and so the first place that God of mercy comes together with God of justice is right after God created man, and God says, since man is around, from here on out, I got to put mercy. I got to put mercy and justice together. And right, because the world can't live in that pristine way of God of justice, because then we can't exist. So I now need to marry mercy and justice, and that's why right after he finishes the creation of the world, he starts going back. Bang! He starts Adonai Elohim right away. God of mercy, God of justice. Yeah.
So we live in a world that is a give and take. The more you give, the more you take.
No, you don't take. The more you get.
The more you give, the more you get.
Right.
Now in my case, every Shabbat I'm invited to somebody's house.
Right.
I'm giving, I'm going to take it.
You both. Both. You're getting, but if you're giving them the opportunity to do a mitzvah, right? So you're giving, right? So there's a double. Then depending how nice you are at the house is whether you're right. But that's what it is.
So you have to give. I mean, is it all about giving?
Life is all about giving. Let me ask you a question. Why do you get married?
To give.
To give. Why don't you get married? You don't want to give.
You're stingy.
Right? Someone came up and said, Rabbi, this marriage is tough business. I need to keep on giving. I said, great. I said, that's what it's all about. See, he said, Rabbi, that's not why I got married. I said, I know. I said, isn't it good you figure this out now?
You got married to kids.
Yeah, right. Well, you know, it's so funny when somebody comes to my office and says, Rabbi, I want to get married. So I said, wonderful, mazel tov. Right, I had the guy and the girl in my office, and I go, okay, so what are you ready to give? And I asked the groom, what are you ready to give? He said, give? Yeah, I said, yeah, why do you want to get married? I said to the bride, what do you want to give? She said, give? I said, yeah. I said, well, why do you want to get married? Well, he makes me feel so good. I'm a better person with him. Right? He makes my world a perfect place. And I said to the guy, and why do you want to get married? Oh, like when I'm with her, I'm just elevated. I just become a better person. Right? She makes me so special. I said, your marriage is heading for a train wreck. He said, what are you talking about? I said, everything that you have mentioned about why you want to get married is you want to get married in order to take. It makes you better. It makes you feel better. It makes you a better person. It's all about you. And why are you supposed to get married? To become a giver, to become godly. And so when you go to get married, you have to say, what am I ready to give to the other person? Right? You know why 60% of marriages in America end up in divorce? And the other 40 are unhappy. is what? It's because it's all about me, right? It's all about me, right? It's all about me and what's in it for me.
That's absolutely right.
Right. That's what happens. And until you understand this truth about marriage, it's going to be a train wreck. Time and time again. You know, it's so funny. I remember back in the day that we had this student here that got married, got divorced. She got married again, and a few days after, and a few months after she got married, she came to my office wearing sunglasses, middle of the winter. And I said, I said, that's not good. I said, what's going on? She said, Rabbi, it's terrible. And she started bawling. I felt bad for her. The bawling in my office. I said, tell me what's going on. You know, is he beating you? No. Is he nice to you? Take care? Yeah. I said, so what's the problem? She says, well, I'm giving and it's tiring. I said, people think marriage is 50-50.
It's not.
And I said, big mistake. I said, it's 100-100.
Yeah.
Right? Right? That's what it's about. It's about, why? Because it's about giving. It's about becoming godly. Right? It's a way of going. We're acting like God. What do you do when you get married? You get a chance to actually create. Right? You create a child. You create children.
You also create a relationship.
What? Yeah, sure, absolutely. And so I said, well, what happens if I get married late? I can't have any children. I said, Kabbalistically, every time a husband and wife are together, they create new souls. Whether there actually is a physical child born or not. When a person gets upstairs to heaven, all these souls are going to come and greet them as their children, as their spiritual children. Right? It's an incredible thing. Right? But marriage is a place of where we actually get to become godly. Right? It's a place where you go and you actually we reflect God in the most basic way.
So if I'm going on a date with someone, I should be thinking about giving only?
Yes. How about that? Could you see yourself giving to this person your entire life?
What if he goes on a date and the giving is just one way?
So then he has to send his date to the class. Send it to Jewish marriage classes to learn what it's about. And because that's not good either.
Mm-hmm.
You know, can I say something? I went on a date with somebody for 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
She kept asking me for this, for that, for this, for that.
Mm-hmm.
She mentioned it 7 times.
Mm-hmm.
And then after I said, what are you going to give me? She said, nothing. So who's winning, me or her?
So it's actually very interesting. You are winning because you're getting a chance to act godly. She's losing because she's not acting like God.
Until now, she's not married.
Yeah, I know. I know people. I have sense of people. Like some people say, like this is like just hope that person doesn't get married, right? Because what happens is if a person is so wrapped up in themselves, and marriage is all about giving, so the marriage will be a train wreck. Yeah, but our job is to be godly, right? Our job is to act like God. That's our job. Our job is to become godly, right? That's what it's all about, right? It's all about becoming godly, right? That's where it starts and ends, right? And our job is to be, they're great Bali Musa, right? The great ethicists of our generation. You know what to do sometimes? they want to eat a fruit, you know what they'll do? They won't eat the fruit. You know why?
Because it's tasty.
No, because they want to break their desire. They won't do it just to break the desire, right? Just in order not to do that, right? But you get a chance to give. Of course, you should give, because you get a chance to act like God. And so the problem is when you remain single, right? So then the problem is that you generally tend to give when you want to. When you don't want to, you just stay home. And so then why do you want to give? Because it feels good. So is you giving really giving, or is you giving really taking? See, so marriage is a perfect place where you learn how to give when you don't want to give. And that's exactly what marriage is for. You had a hard day at work, you want to go back home, you want to kick back, sit on the couch, watch the Cowboys lose, pull out a beer, and just have a good time. Right? And what happens? You walk in the door, and what does your wife say?
Take out the trash.
And then what does she say? Take care of the kids. I'm done. Right? Well, let me tell you about my day. She finally has somebody higher than a 2-year-old to talk to. Right? And you say, I'm exhausted. I ran out. And what does the Torah tell you? What does the Torah tell you to do? Say, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I couldn't wait to come home and for you to tell me about your day.
So that would be.
And what do you say? She says, you're lying. You just want a beer on a couch. And you know what you say? Absolutely not. I want to listen to you. Because when I listen to you, I'm able to give you something. And I want to give. And marriage is all about giving. And when you learn that and understand that, and day in and day out, you get yourself beat up over the head. When you do that, then at that point in time, right? Then at that point in time, you're becoming godly, right? You're emulating God, and that's what this world is all about, emulating God.
One of the reasons why I thought Joy was the right person for me is because I could look at her and I've told her I have no obligation to do for you. No, I feel no obligation whatsoever. It's my privilege to do for you.
Right. And that's good. And guess what? You know, I'll tell you a story about this. Somebody once came to me and said, Rabbi, an older person came to me and said, Rabbi, I have a problem. I said, yeah, what's your problem? He said, well, my daughter became religious. So I know she's taking care of me because she's obligated to, not because she wants to. Okay? That was the complaint of the day. And just like a flavor of the day, and a complaint of the day. Right? I got that. I got that. So I said to the person, I said, let me ask you a question. So would you rather your child take care of you because they're obligated to, or would you rather your child takes care of you because they want to? I said, and remember, if you pick only when they want to, so that means when they're not feeling it, they're not going to come. And if you need something, that's just too bad. I said, so which one would you rather have? So she said, well, I really want both. right. That's why I said, because you really want to take. No. So I said to them, I agree with you. I agree with you. Because really, right, as a child, right, you want to, when you give, and this is an important thing to learn about giving, when you give, you have to learn to give so that the other person does not feel that they're becoming obligated to you. Right? Because when you make somebody obligated to you, at that point in time, right, so then it creates an obligation back. Right? So it's not a complete giving, right? Because you're going to, it's for, you know, I bought my kid, I went shopping with Chaim Zev. So we were supposed to pick up a basketball. So I picked up a basketball, and I also picked up a football. Because it was Black Friday, it was a Black Friday sale, so it was like half off. So I figured I'll stock it up, because So
Go
Chaim,
on sometime.
like he'll do something on eating. So Chaim says, why'd you buy the football? So I smile. He says, oh, I know why you bought the football. He says, I'm finishing a whole order of Mishnah. You're going to give me the football when I'm done. I'm thinking, kiddo, if you know how proud I am of you that you finished an entire order of the Mishnah, you finished the 6th of the oral law. By the way, he's 10 years old. I said, I give you the moon. I said, I'd do anything for you. Right? And he thinks a football, like a $15 football, and I fulfilled my obligation. And so I'm thinking, I said, Chaim Tov, it's for a player to be named later. I always love those trades. You just said it for a player. I don't know what it means for a player to be named later. I'm still trying to figure out what that means. Right?
It means you're so worthless. I'll tell you.
right. But it's a player to be named later. Right? Whatever that means. Right? And so I said, right, we're just stocking it up. Right? I said, but that's what it is, right? You go ahead. I said, you have to make the other person feeling, not to become obligated. Right? You want the other person to feel that they're doing you a favor by taking. And we'll see. We'll see in the Chumash. We'll see the quintessential gift to learn how to give. And the whole world is built on giving. I mean, it's fascinating, right? To understand how the world is set up. And it's an amazing thing. But to understand, right, about learn how to give. And that's what it's about. And so here, it's for the first time it says Adonai Elohim. God of mercy, God of justice. And by the way, you see it straight through. Right? You go ahead, Avinu Malkeinu. Right? You're familiar with the phrase Avinu Malkeinu? Right? Avinu Malkeinu. Now what does Avinu mean?
Our Father.
Malkeinu?
Our King.
Okay, which one's first, our Father or our King?
Our Father.
Why is our Father first?
Mercy.
Because it's God of mercy. Right? When you say, and I'll show you something, right? You say Shema Yisrael. Right? You ever think about what you say when you say Shema Yisrael? Right? Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Right? That's probably the most famous phrase in Judaism. Hero Israel. God is one. Now let me ask you a question. If you had to write that phrase, how would you write the phrase?
I wouldn't have
Here
to be God's.
Israel,
I would have to be
one.
God is one. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Echad. And it doesn't say that. It says Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, God of mercy, God of justice. Adonai Echad is one God.
One God.
So what are you saying? Right? The sentence is almost meaningless. But let me tell you what you're really saying. Shema Yisrael, Hero Israel. Listen up! Adonai, God of mercy. Eloheinu, God of justice. Conflict. Is it mercy? Is it justice? Right? What is God? Right? Is God mercy? Is God justice? So most people will say, and that's where idolatry comes from. There's a God of mercy, there's a God of justice. They fight, and sometimes one wins, sometimes the other wins, etc., etc. We say Adonai Echad. God is one. He's not two. God of mercy and God of justice are the same God. And which God? Adonai Echad. It's a God of mercy. It's a God of mercy, that's right. And that's what it is. Right? And that's what we're saying. God of mercy, God of justice. It's all mercy. Justice was only created to be subservient. But as soon as man comes along, right, man gets created in day number 6. All of a sudden now, chapter 2, verse 4, we're now beginning to go through the creation of the world. Once we got the creation out of the way, now we can start going through the whole deal. First time it says God, we put Adonai Elohim. God comes right in, the God of mercy. Because even though the pristine way would be to be justice, the world can't exist. Right? Because mankind is, right, we're just not capable. Right? And so and most of us, right, there was individuals that were able to exist in such a fashion. Right? Like 4 of them. The entire world. Right? But 4 of them. But everyone else, right, you need mercy, you need justice. Yes?
Let's say if I want to pray to God
Yeah.
for Parnasa.
Yeah?
So I say God of mercy and God of justice, give me Parnasa, or I say God give me Parnasa?
No, say God of mercy. Right? Actually, it's funny you're saying that. Right? Tonight actually is the first night we ask for parnasa, we ask for livelihood in I think the 8th blessing Shemona Esrei, right? Baruch Aleinu. It's actually interesting. Baruch Aleinu Adonai Eloheinu. It's actually right. God of mercy, God of justice. As Hashanah Zos as Komenes Zos L'Tova, we're saying Tal Umat Levracha. Tonight we say and give Tal, dew and rain for blessing. That actually tonight is the night that we switch it from just give blessing to give rain. Right? We start asking for rain tonight. Right in the diaspora. Right? It's fascinating, right? Because it's the bracha starts off, and it's a great question. Why? Right? We say Adonai Eloheinu. We use both of them. And we end up bracha to Adonai Mevarach Hashanah. Right? God is the source of blessing. Right? To give. Right? Who blesses the years.
So if I imagine God, I imagine God in mercy. If I imagine God in
justice, no mercy. It's all mercy. Remember, justice is only subservient.
I'm afraid of Shabbat touching life because of mercy or because of justice?
Because of mercy. God loves you so much, and you know that if you touch the light, you drive the car, that you put a knife into God's heart when you do that. Is it worth it to you to touch the light? If I held a gun to your head, would you touch the light? No. Right? Because love is really what it's all about. And so God says, love me. Now what's fascinating is somebody holds a gun to your head, you have to do it. Because then God says, go do it. I love you too much, I don't want you to lose your head. Right? It's fascinating, right? It is very, very, very interesting. Right? But we come to the level of loving God, where our love for God is so powerful. And so, I love you, Hashem, so much. There's nothing in the world I ever would want to disappoint you. There's nothing I would ever want to do to hurt my relationship with you. Right? Is there anything you want to do to hurt your relationship with God? With your spouse? Right? I mean, by the way, that's why God created marriage. You know why God created marriage?
Another opportunity to us to be like God.
Good, but let me tell you something even more. I'm going to ask you an interesting question. What's the greatest love that exists in the world?
God's love for us.
What's the greatest love? What type of relationship?
Marriage.
Let me ask you a question. Do you love your spouse more or you love your child more?
Parent-child.
Parent-child. Right? The answer is parent-child. That's the greatest love that exists in the world. What's that? And how does God love us? What does God say? I love you like
my children.
Like my children. And that's what God calls us, right? We're His children. But let me ask you a question. Yet when we talk about our relationship with God, what does God say? Love me like?
Parent.
You love the temple.
Let me ask you.
I'm your father.
No. He says, know that I'm your father, but love me. Let me ask you the question. You ever heard of the book of Shir HaShirim? A Song of Songs?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And what is the theme of the Song of Songs?
It's a love song.
It's a love song between what? Between a husband and wife, right? Let me ask you a question. Who is the husband and who is the wife?
Solomon.
Okay, so let me tell you. And Rabbi Akiva says, by the way, that Shir HaShirim, if all the books are holy, Shir HaShirim is the holy of holies.
It's because it's God in us.
Oh, because it's God in us. So who's the husband? God. Who's the spouse? We are. And God says, and why is He written in the, ask the question, why is He written in the husband and wife? Why is He written in the parent? Because God says, I want you to love me like a spouse. Right? Well, time out. I thought the greatest love is a parent to a child. So why doesn't God say, love me like a parent to a child? Why does God say, love me like a spouse?
You have to let your children go.
What?
You have to let your children go. They grow up and go away. Your spouse stays.
Was it a difference because in a spouse relationship there's giving,
Right.
and a child doesn't give in the same sense that spouse.
You should.
You're thinking about an infant.
No, well, I'll tell you something fascinating about an infant. But first let's get this, and I'll tell you something fascinating about an infant. The answer is, there's one area where the love of a spouse is greater than the love of a parent to a child. When you have a child is born, do you say, I'm going to choose to love this child, or you just love that child?
Just love that child.
Love that child.
But you make a choice.
You make a choice to love a spouse. And God says, I don't want you to love me because you have to. I want you to love me because you want to.
Chooses.
Because you choose.
That's decent.
And that's why the Song of Songs is written to a husband and a wife rather than a parent to a child. Because God says, I don't want to have it mandated that you have to love me. I want you to love me because you're choosing to love me. Because you're choosing to have a relationship with me. That's why I want you to love me. Right? That's what it's all about. Right? Going and choosing to love God. And that's why God says, that's how I want you to choose to love me. I want you to choose. And that's why God gave us marriage, by the way. God gave us marriage so we can understand the concept of choosing to love somebody. Right? And you say, okay, I'm choosing to love you. God, I'm now going to take that choice of love and I'm going to choose to love you too. And I'm going to love you not because I have to, but because I want to. And it's fascinating. You know, I'm going to tell you something else about marriage. It's a pretty cool thing too. It's worth it to come to class today. Listen to this. This is amazing. Men are from Mars and women are from Venus.
Yeah.
You think Pluto, huh? Mars and Venus are too close.
No, but it does make sense.
Right. Now let me explain to you, right? So men are logical, women general, these generalities, right? It's an ultimate man, ultimate female, of course. There are both, and then everyone's on the spectrum, so don't get carried away. Right? So men are logical, generally more logical, and women are generally more emotional. Right? Okay, right? That's kind of how it works, right? Men are more logical, women are more emotional. Okay. Wouldn't it make much more sense to have a guy marry a guy and a woman marry a woman? They're all on the same wavelength. It's all the same up, sun down. Right? The moon waxes and wanes. We're all on the same page. And God says, no. That would be way too simple. Go find a woman. You run in two different operating systems. Okay? You have two total different clocks.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And go get married.
And make it work.
Right? Is God some sort of masochist? Like you know?
Isn't it said God has a sense of humor?
It could be more like a sadist.
It's sadist, right. Sadist. Yeah, I guess it's sadist. Yeah, because we do it to ourselves. Right? So why is that? Right? Why does God make it that a guy has to get married to a woman? I'm going to explain it to you. Listen up. Because when it comes to a guy serving God, what would we guys do? Approach it logically. We would go. It's like my father's an engineer, right? So I always think, like whenever I think of logical, I think of my father. Like he's a consummate engineer. It's everything's like, okay, let's figure this out. Let's measure it. Let's cut it down. Let's get the pieces in place. Right? It's an engineering process. Let's set up the engineering process. Right? Then we do, okay, you take 3 steps back here, you take 3 steps back this way, you bow this way, you bow that way. This point in time you bow like this, the other time you bow like that. Right? You've got the whole system all worked out. And our prayers would be this synchronization. Taking steps back and bowing and shaking and shuffling, doing everything exactly just so. And what would God say if that happens?
Good, isn't it?
It's great, fantastic. Where's the emotion? Where's the heart?
Yeah.
And now if a woman was in charge, what would it be?
All emotion.
Whatever we feel like. Right? It's what we're feeling today. And what would God say?
Where are the mechanics?
Right? And so you got to have the marriage of the mechanics with the emotions. God says, go get married. So guy, he's got the mechanics down, he's got the prayer down exactly right, he's doing it exactly the way he's supposed to do it. What's the problem? No emotion. All of a sudden, a guy gets married. And oh my gosh. Right? All of a sudden, logic is irrelevant. Right? It's irrelevant to the program. Right? Because what's happening? Right? Everyone's just doing what they feel like. And the guy is sitting there scratching his head, trying to think like, how's this working out? You know, 1 minute she's laughing, she's all happy. The next minute she's crying, she's in a puddle on the floor, and it's all my fault. Somehow it's my fault, right? And all of a sudden, a guy learns that there's something called emotions. And then God says, "Go get married, and learn to take your emotions and to put it into your structure of prayer, so that when you're praying." You're taking all the exact things that you're doing, right? You sort of have the framework and fill it with emotion. And now come and pray. Now come and talk to me.
That's covenant.
Now come and have a relationship with me. Right? And that's what it's all about. Learning how to do that. And getting that down, getting it down so we married the two pieces, right? Marry the logic and the emotion and put them together. That's why God created marriage. So then when we serve God, we understand that it's not just a question of the sort of the framework, right? The engineering section of doing things, but so we're taking the emotions and we're instilling the emotions into the logic. And then that's the proper way to serve God. And so the whole world is created just to help us go ahead and to learn how to have a healthy relationship with God. Right? But to have a passionate relationship. Right? And then comes to your point. So when you realize that you're going to do something that's going to disappoint God, you'll kill yourself rather than do it.
Can I just add something?
Yeah.
So as a man, you're supposed to be working on giving, and as a woman, they need to be working on the emotions.
No, a woman has to work on giving. We both have to give. We just handed different toolboxes. And our job is to take our toolboxes and to use them in a way to go ahead to create, right? To create the exquisite me that we're creating.
So how come a woman cannot be a rabbi?
What are you talking about? My wife's a rabbi?
Who's the first female rabbi was in the 1780s, wasn't it?
No. You're talking about what do you think Moses' wife did? Well, let me ask you a question. When you say rabbi, what do you mean rabbi?
A rabbi is someone who teaches and take care of the community and take care of humankind.
Okay. Does my wife teach?
Yes.
Does my wife take care of the community?
Yes.
Does she take care of humankind?
Yes.
So she's a rabbi. What's the big deal? Right? The answer to the whole thing about a woman being a rabbi is a red herring.
Question, Rabbi. But do you have a commitment to God?
Of course we do. We stood in Mount Sinai. We accepted the Torah. Didn't we sign the ketubah? Didn't we sign the marriage document?
So
Did we not say we're in?
Isn't the difference women were, you said, women was created after the man.
After man,
so
yeah.
they had more, they were perfect or had
More complete, yeah.
complete. And the reason why a man reads from the Torah then is because when you have additional mitzvahs, I guess is the right word to say, to help make yourselves complete.
Absolutely.
And
Reading
so
from
the
the Torah.
woman doesn't have to because we do creation.
Reading
Yeah.
from the Torah has nothing to do with being a rabbi. Zero. Anyone can read from the Torah. Has nothing to do with being a rabbi. Nothing. I grew up, my rabbi never read from the Torah. Ever. Has nothing to do with being a rabbi.
and going up on the,
Going at Bima has nothing to do with him being a rabbi either.
That's true.
That's what I'm saying. You stop and you think
Yeah.
about it for a minute. The whole thing
Yeah.
people make it's a red herring. It has nothing to do with. We have different jobs. Let me ask you a question. Who's the most influential person in your life?
You?
Thank
Good
you.
answer.
Good answer. The right answer. All right, 2 points. You can come back next week. Right? You think about it, right? Who's the most influential person? Your mother. Not your parents. Your mother. Okay. Would you rather be a mother or a father? The answer is a guy would rather be a father, a mother would rather be a mother. They have two different jobs. Right? Our jobs in this world our jobs in this world are right, we have different jobs in this world. Okay? We have different jobs in this world. Right? Probably the most important job is raising our kids. Everyone, I think, would agree to that. And the mother gets that job. Who decides whether the kid is Jewish or not? The mother or the father?
Nothing.
Well, wait a second, it's not fair. I don't hear anybody complaining about that.
So why do what's the deal with women wanting to be, quote, rabbi?
The whole thing to me is ridiculous.
Okay, so and it's best that I don't even try to understand.
Don't try to understand because
Okay.
it has nothing to do
I know,
with Judaism.
we were having that discussion.
It has
too.
nothing to do with Judaism. It has everything to do with women's lib,
Got
which
it.
is a whole other
Got
discussion. But it's going into an area that it has no contact. The whole thing is just silly.
I got
But
it.
we get hung up on titles, and that I think is part of it.
Yeah, you know what the word rabbi actually means?
Teacher.
Teacher.
Yeah.
Right? It's not the ongoing title. My wife's a
Like the
teacher.
King of the shul.
Right. Can't give this show. Right, like the whole thing is just a really, it's sad. It's irrelevant.
But there's an implication that comes with the title rabbi of being learned, and that doesn't mean that a woman isn't.
Right.
It's just that there is that belief.
Right.
Because of the
My
title.
wife knows more than. Right. Everyone here, right? She's probably
Combined.
She's combined, right? She's probably the top one of the top 30, right? 30, 40 people in Dallas in her knowledge.
You can't be a good teacher if you don't have the knowledge.
Right. Right. I mean, the whole thing is just silly. It's a silly discussion. Right. But meanwhile, back to our story. So God created man. Right. But once He created man, now He can no longer create the world that we have to earn everything. So we'll be givers rather than takers because we can. But eventually we're going to fall. Right. And then we're toast. Right. And our relationship with God is supposed to. Right. And so therefore, He created Adonai Elohim. First He puts God of mercy, then God of justice. Right? And God of mercy says, let man operate, even though they may fail. It's okay if they fall. Not a problem. Tell people it's okay if you sin. Right? The world was created that we'll sin. Not a problem. Okay? We'll sin. You know what the problem is? If we don't up and say we're sorry. Right? Then it's a problem. Right? That's our problem. Our problem is not owning it. Right? And that's what we have to do. We have to learn how to own it. Right? And how to be godly. And understand that when we go ahead and have a relationship with God, that's incredible. And I don't want to lose it. I don't want to do anything to lose it. Right? That's what we have to do. And if we get to that place like that, now we're cooking. Okay, so these are the right. So verse number 4. Okay, so I'm glad you read it, Mark. Verse number 4. That was very good. Right, these are the products, right, of the heavens and the earth when they created in the day that Hashem God made earth and heaven. Right, God goes ahead and creates earth and heaven. Right, excellent. Right, and the world is in a wonderful place. Okay, good. Taylor, you want to read verse number 5?
Now all the trees of the field were not yet on the earth, and all the herb of the field had not yet sprouted. For Hashem God had not sent rain upon the earth, and there was no man to work the soil.
Oh my gosh, okay, let's stop here. Read that verse again.
Now all of the trees of the field were not yet on the earth, and and all of the herb of the field had not yet sprouted. For Hashem God had not sent rain upon the earth, and there was no man to work the soil.
For Hashem God had not sent rain upon the earth, and there was no man to work the soil. What does that mean?
It's incomplete.
What's incomplete?
Earth.
What?
Earth.
Earth is. When you say, what does that mean? It's incomplete.
The world is incomplete. It's not finished because there's no rain, there's no man to make things happen.
So why doesn't God make it rain? Just move on with it. Let everything sprout.
Well, because everything was created for man, and until man arrives,
But man also
why
has-
have it all?
But man has to
sprout?
work for it too.
Yeah, he has to say the prayer to ask for rain to make it happen.
Say that last sentence again.
Man has to pray for it.
Man has to pray for it. And what happens if man doesn't pray for it?
It doesn't happen.
Don't get it.
No, that's not.
Because we just had the discussion about God of mercy.
Well, man should work the soil. What does it mean man should work the soil?
Well, at this point, it's just saying his prayers and having that relationship with God. After he sins, is working the ground.
Okay. Good, hold on. Yeah?
We got punished.
We need to, there's no punishment
haven't
here.
yet.
We haven't gotten there. We're still good. You keep more about the punishment than sinning. Just relax. We'll get there in its proper time. Chapter 2, we're still okay.
You forget chapter 4.
You have to do chapter 3. Chapter 3 is where they mess up.
Where, yeah.
So what does it mean man has to work? There's no man to work the soil. What was his job to work the soil?
Pray.
The world for God. For people,
Mhm.
for the Jewish for people.
Scott, what do you think?
To try,
To try what?
to pray, to toil, I don't know, to struggle.
What would that mean? Like to take out your plow and to plow the ground?
No.
No.
Why not?
Because at this point, all you have to do is pray.
No, then why not? That means take out your Sears robot, what's it called, riding mower and mow your yard.
What's that?
Maybe
Not
it means,
robot?
maybe it means to take out your riding mower and mow your yard. Is that what it means? Right? And what does it mean to
You have something meaningful to do. You have a purpose.
So what does it mean to work the soil? It says to work, it doesn't say for a purpose, it says to work the soil.
Well, once he prays, the rain comes, the trees and everything grow. He's working the soil at that point.
Good, hold on. Let's take him there. How do you work the soil?
You have to have dirt,
Okay,
water,
good.
and seed.
And then what do you have to do?
You have to plant the seed. You have to prepare the field.
So man's job was to plant the plant the ground.
No, it was there already.
No.
It was waiting to come
Just
for
to
it.
have a relationship. You can't make it sprout without a relationship.
With
Connection to
God.
No, the seeds are already planted.
right, okay, yeah.
You don't have to plant.
Okay, so what do you have to do?
Pray. You have to have a relationship. You can't.
Okay, just making sure we all agree that when it says man wasn't there to work the soil, the way man worked the soil was by praying.
Pray.
Right? When you read this, right? You read this verse yesterday before you came into class, and there was no man to work the soil. What do you think work the soil meant?
Pray.
Work the soil, right? Right. To work the soil. What's the problem with that? In the Garden of Eden, everything was there. Everything was perfect. There's no need. There was no work to do.
It was another opportunity to create a relationship with God.
Relates. It's an opportunity to work on your relationship with God. Okay, now we're talking. But understand the implications of what you just said, because the implications are enormous. So if you're telling me, rightly so, that man's whole job in this world is to create a relationship with God, and that's why we're here, right? That's our job. So when it says to work the soil, what type of work the soil does it mean?
Spiritual work.
It means spiritual work. What type of spiritual work? Prayer. Right? It becomes the place that we need to work, that we need to pray
It's
to
not
God.
Physical, the physical.
It's not physical.
It's the spiritual.
Okay, so how did the world used to work then? You wake up in the morning. Tell me your day. You wake up in the morning and
You pray.
Pray.
you look outside and you eat breakfast. So what would you do?
Pray.
You pray. And what happened after you pray?
Breakfast.
The rain would come down and sprout right out of the ground. Breakfast. Now, what happens if you didn't pray hard enough?
You might not get enough to eat.
You might, right? You might, you pull it. It's like the machine. You try to pull it out. It's like only coming out halfway. You know, I take my kids to Nookorama. You know, it's like, you know, when the tickets come out. Sometimes you get that half ticket.
Yeah.
You know, and you try to get the other half out. Right? So it's fascinating. Because how do you work today?
Sweat of the brow. Physical.
How do you get your food today?
Physical.
Tum-tum.
Oh, thanks for reminding me.
How do you get your food today?
Same way
Through physical
they
work.
did. The same way.
The same way.
Yeah, and it's still waking up. Be thankful that you can get up.
Waking
you can
up
see, you can hear, you
And
can
pray to God.
Still.
Now, there's a few more steps in between till your food gets delivered. You might have to call Adair and have them deliver it to you. But understand, the way we eat today is the exact same way we ate 5,778 years ago. And that is by how? Prayer. Now the problem was, the system had to change. And we'll get to where man sins, and so therefore man now has to learn how to retain their focus on God, and so therefore they go ahead and they can change up the system. But it's the exact same way. How do we go ahead and how do we have that relation, right? How do we have that going that with God? Through prayer. Right? And that's that. Don't think for a second that your boss is in charge of how much money you make. Your boss is irrelevant. He's a puppet of God. God decides how much money you make. And what does he decide it based on?
Our relationship with
Our relationship with him. That's what it's all about. Our relationship with God. Right? We have what we call, ever heard of the business cycle? You heard of the business cycle? Okay, here's the business cycle. Business cycle.
Up and down.
You got it? Low, high, low, high, low, high, low, high. You got it? You want to know the prayer cycle? Think of the prayer cycle.
It's the opposite.
No, it's quite similar to that one.
Nope. It's an inverse relationship.
Inverse.
Yep. The business cycle, when you're down and out, what do?
You
You
pray.
pray to God. When you're on the top of the game, what do you say? God, just leave me alone. And then,
mirror image.
right? And then what happens? It's a mirror image. Then you go down, the business starts getting worse. What happens to your prayer?
Pray again.
Prayer starts praying again. And then when you're down and out, what happens? So now you're really praying. So God says, okay, now I can give you. He starts giving you again. And then the more he gives you, what do? Pray less. Right? And so then you go down. Right? And so what happens is, and remember, what's the whole purpose of the world? To create the relationship with God. So if every time he gives you more, you forget about him, what happens to you then?
You start getting less.
You're begging God not to give you anything. Because the only time you're going to turn to him and pray to him is when you need something. So man's job was put in the world to pray. That's our job. Now, once you understand that man's job in this world is to pray, so then let's go back and understand this verse. Why did it not rain yet? Because man wasn't there to pray. Right? And since it didn't rain, what happens then? There was nothing grows. There was nothing on the ground because it hadn't yet rained, and because man wasn't there to work the soil. Right? Because man wasn't there to say God. He wasn't there to turn the faucet and to make it pray. Right? The whole purpose of the world is for man to go ahead and for man to pray to God and create that relationship. Right? Prayer and learn Torah. When we pray, we talk to God. When we learn Torah, God is talking to us. Following? Right? That's what it's all about. It's all about us going ahead and creating that relationship. There was no man in the world to pray. There's no rain. Yet it says that what? It says that God in day number 3 created the vegetation. So what does that mean?
It was there, but it had...
It means vegetation was there. It was right below the surface. Complete trees. As soon as man was put... And this is certainly in the Garden of Eden. I'm not sure the rest of the world was like this, okay? And then man comes in the Garden of Eden and he prays. And as soon as he prays, what happens? Along comes the rain and washes down the drain. Right? Right. And so Wincy Spider climbed up the water spout. Down came the rain and washed it all away. Out came the sun and all came up the trees. Now, just fascinating. How did man know that he had to pray?
He had a need.
What?
He had a need. He felt the need.
Okay,
His
good.
instinct was to talk to God and to ask.
Because man understood that everything in this world has a spiritual source. Everything in this world has a spiritual source. So if you want the trees to grow, what do you need to do? You need a spiritual source to make it grow.
Is that what comes up in verse 7? Where it says, Hashem formed the man from ground of dust and blew into his nostrils the soul of life?
Okay, we're going to get that. That's a hold on.
Hold on. Okay.
Yeah. Jumping ahead over here. Right? So what happened was now all the trees of the ground were niated earth, and all the herbs of the field that niated sprouted. For Hashem God had not sent rain upon the earth. There was no man to work the soil. Man wasn't around to pray. Man wasn't around to pray, so therefore there was no reason for rain. Right? The whole reason our work that we had to do in the Garden of Eden was prayer. Right? It was connection to God. And then the rain came. Same thing today. Right? We pray and we get sustenance. Except we have a few steps in between. Right? We have to go to work, fill out a resume, get a job, right? And go ahead and yada. Right? We have all those steps in between. We need those steps because what happens is we're going to forget about God if we don't have those steps. And we'll find out. We'll see how that fit. What mankind messed up in the garden. Right? But meanwhile, at the end of the day, man's job was to pray to God. Right? Like that's their job. Right? To go ahead and to pray to God. That was our job. No man, no tiki, no washing. No man, no rain. Okay, verse number 6, very fascinating. Go ahead. Joy, you want to read?
A mist ascended from the earth and watered the whole surface of the soil. And Hashem formed the man of
say it again.
And Hashem God
oof.
formed
Okay.
the man of dust from the ground blew into his nostrils the soul of life, and man became a living being.
Okay. Now, very important here. So what happens? So now we talk about, again, creating man, right? And again, we told us in day number 6, but now it's giving us a little more information. So how did God go ahead and how did God create day number 6? How did God go create man?
From the dust.
Formed him
From the dust and
water. And then
water.
blew,
Right? Where did the water come from?
ascended from the earth.
Fascinating, not rain.
The mist.
A mist ascended from the earth. And again, nothing from the top, right? A mist ascended, right? And why did God have to water the earth?
To create man.
Right? Because he had to create a mud pie. Right? He had to take the dirt, he had to take the water, he had to mix it up and create man. Right? And creates man. Right? And then he goes ahead and then, okay. Now, there's a great joke. There's a bunch of physicists that got together and said, okay, God, we no longer need you, we know how to do everything. Test us. So God says, no problem. So God goes ahead and says, make man. So they say, no problem. They go out into the backyard and back of the lab. They take the wheelbarrow, they shovel, they go ahead, they take the dirt, they shovel it into the wheelbarrow. They go and they pick up the bottle of a zark of water, and off they head into the lab. And God says, what are you doing? They said, we're making man. So God says, get your own supplies. Get your own supplies, baby. So God is going ahead. He's got dirt. He's got water. He's going to mix it up. And so how does he create man?
Forms him and blow into his nostrils the soul of life.
Blows into his nostrils the soul of life. So what does that mean? He blows into his nostrils the soul of life?
Spiritual being.
Gives him a neshama.
He gives him a neshama. So again, so just help me out here. So he creates man. How is he creating man?
Forming him out of mud and water.
He's forming him out of mud and water. Anyone else? Who agrees with that?
But at that point, it's just the body. There's no soul. It's just physical. So when he breathes into his nostrils, he gives him a spiritual along with the physical.
You're getting warmer.
Yes, the physical, I mean, it's created earth, so the physical part of man exists. It's not creating,
How long does the physical part of man last?
Depends, 70, 100 years.
Okay.
Biblically, 900 years.
Okay. So who is man? Man is the soul. Where does the soul come from?
Because man did not inhale. He meaning God, breathed into his nostrils.
What did he blow into his nostrils?
A soul.
A soul. By the way, you want to hear something really cool? How do you say soul in Hebrew?
Neshama.
Neshama. How do you say breath in Hebrew?
Probably the same thing.
The same letter, same words. Neshima. Neshima is a breath. The way you spell neshima in Hebrew is exactly the way you spell soul. Exact same letters. You know why? Because your soul is your breath.
Yeah. Stop breathing, you don't exist.
Right? Right? Your soul goes away. Right? So what happens is, you have your neshama. You are your soul. The physical body is just the clothing, is the vessel to hold your soul. Right? You following?
yes.
So now, let's repeat the question. So how did God create man? He gave him a soul, or he is a soul?
He is a soul with a human body.
No, he gave him a soul. He blew into his nostrils the soul. It's not he is a soul. He blew into his nostrils the soul of life.
And so what is he blew into? What's the him?
God.
No, he blew. He is God.
Yes.
He blew into his nostrils. Who's the
Right.
his?
Oh.
Adam.
The what?
Adam.
The mummy.
Yes.
The mummy, right? God creates
Physical
this
being.
a physical mud pie,
Right.
which is nothing more than dirt and water. Right? It's nothing more than dirt and water. And what happens?
He gives this
He
lump
takes-
of dirt a soul.
He gives the dirt the soul, but who is the man? The soul or the dirt?
The soul.
Right? Who's the man? The soul or the dirt?
Soul.
The soul. And when was the soul created?
Day one.
Right? The soul is is a spiritual thing from God. So now, if he is a soul,
What
and
came first?
he gets what?
What came first?
What came first? Right? The soul or the body?
Soul.
The soul.
The soul.
So what's he doing on day number 6?
Exactly.
Building the cavity for the soul.
Building a cavity for the soul. So now let me ask you a question. Oh! So people said man came from evolution. What do you say?
You're crazy.
It's the most ridiculous thing in the world. Because if you want to say man's body was evolutionized and that's how God created body, we could go there. I'm not gonna fight you on that. But where does man come from?
God.
God is a soul. It has nothing to do with the body. All the body is the clothing, is a vehicle to hold the soul. And the soul can't evolutionize. Even more so because animals don't have a soul. Right? You're following? Right? Like that's what it's about.
Very easy to interpret when you see the baby born.
Well, a baby being born, it's
That's God.
right, and so that's a fascinating thing.
You see a newborn, you don't think about the evolution. You think
But,
of Hashem.
Well, that's hopefully that's what you did. Right, but you understand. But since, right, you know, an animal has a animal soul, right? Just it's like a battery. So it's like, and it's not a soul. Right? It's not you're not a human soul. Human soul is not something that can evolutionize. And now let me ask you another question. So God created this mud pie, he blew into his soul, right, and that held the soul. So how did we come from mud?
Hashem made us that way.
All the pieces were there.
Okay, so how did it go from mud to blood, guts, veins, flesh?
But it all turns back into dust in the end, which is proof that it all.
No, but how did it go? How did it go when God created man? Right? So how did our physical body come about? If this was originally mud, how did it turn into this?
God, he can do anything.
So I come from the Star Trek generation. And I think it was like poof! And out popped the soul. Out popped the body. The heart and all the pieces are busy going there, right? Right? All that going ahead and doing that. I'm from Star Trek. Is it possible that that God first took out the dirt, his mud pie, took out his lightning bolt gun and shot it until it turned into an Aviva? And then took out his 1,000,000,000-watt lightning bolt gun and shot that until it turned into a snake, and then into an ape, then into a humanoid. Is that all possible?
Possible.
Sure. And not a problem when I say that that's where the body comes from. It doesn't bother me. Where does the soul come from?
From God.
From God. That can't evolutionize. That does not work evolution.
So if you accept evolution, at what point do you accept the merger of the body and the soul?
I don't know. You have to ask somebody who believes in evolution. See, I'll tell you, there's only one thing of evolution that we religious Jews have a problem with. Only one thing.
You mean tell me?
Evolution says it happened by chance.
Oh.
And what do we say?
Nothing happened.
It's all God all the time, right? Who cares, right? Right? You want to tell me exactly how God went and created the world and what happened? Okay, go ahead. You could go do that. I mean, it says God said and God spoke the world into existence. But if you want to tell me the details on how it went from a mud pie to a human being, right, to flesh and blood, I'm cool. I don't have a religious issue with that. I mean, it doesn't bother me at all.
So you could accept a Neanderthal had a soul?
No. Neanderthal did not have the soul that we have as humans. Right? We have a human soul. When did the human soul that we have today, when did that come onto this world?
When God breathed it in.
5,778 years ago in a couple months. Okay? That's when it happened. Right? That's when humans came into this world. Before that, whatever, you're on. Right? You know what I'm saying? Right? The whole world, remember, the whole world, right, says evolution, it's fine, the physical things, that could be how God does, we don't have a problem. In fact, if you take a look, you look in the Torah, that's the order that, what does God create in day number 5? He starts off creating fish, birds, animals, humans, right? That's the order of creation in the Torah. Right? Which is quite interesting, how people who go ahead and say evolution, that was how the world was created. We have no issue with that. But when it comes to man, God takes the physical man and he blows into it its soul. And gives a soul into man. And when you understand that man is his soul, not his body, that we are not a body, we're a soul that has a body. That soul came from heaven. And that soul is who we are. And everything else is irrelevant to the story. Right? And that's what it's about. Right? Going ahead and creating the creation of man. Right? What does it say? Right, chapter 2. Right, chapter 2, verse number 7. And Hashem, God, formed the man of dust from the ground. Right? So he creates the body, right, that he's going to put the soul into.
Yes.
And then he, God, blew into his nostril the soul of life, into man's nostril. The soul of life, i.e. their soul, which is who they are. Man became a living thing. Became a living being. Now we're in a body. Now we're connected. Now the two pieces are connected. And that's what man is. Right? It's a marriage of these two pieces. What happens when somebody dies?
The soul leaves the body.
The soul leaves the body. The body's just a container. Now, you got to take care of the container, right? Because God gave it to us. You can't just throw it away. You have to treat it respectfully. Right? We wash it, we clean it, we have it prepare proper burial, and we put it back in the ground because it's not ours. It's lent to us by God. The soul leaves the body. What happens to the soul?
It ascends.
It ascends. It continues on its journey. The soul is here only for a certain amount of time. And that to do what our job is in this world.
The soul ascends and goes back to heaven.
Back to heaven. Goes back to the world of
The
souls.
rest of the souls of their families and so forth.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what happens.
So the whole family meets there.
Right? A similar thing happens, by the way, when you sleep. But when you sleep, right, only, right, a 60th, it's called a taste of death. So So it's a 60th of death because part of your soul leaves, but you still contain, part of your soul still stays around, otherwise you die. Okay, folks, before we end, just remember this Shabbat, this weekend, we are celebrating 25 years of data. 25 years of data. We're going to have a special Shabbos. We actually have Rabbi Hillel David and his wife who are coming in, and two of the great sage of our generation, as well as Rabbi Nate Siegel, who's going to be joining us for Shabbos as well. And then on Monday night we have the data dinner, right, which is going to take place Monday night, December 11th at 6:15 at the Plano Civic Center. We'd love to have everybody come and join us there, and we will see you all same bat time, same bat station, 2 weeks back over here, next week in the Plano Civic Center. Have a wonderful evening.
All right.